Welcome to the Space Marketing Podcast, where we look at marketing principles, strategies, and tactics through the lens of space. Information relating to our discussion today and links to the video version can be found in the episode show notes on spacemarketingpodcast.com. Please like and follow the podcast. It will help us get the word out about all the very cool things happening in space. Hi, I am your host, Izzy House. Any of the information that you hear today, I hope you find helpful in your journey to reach for the stars. But please consult a professional for your specific situation. Space Foundation was founded in 1983, offering a gateway to education, information, and collaboration for space exploration and space-inspired. Space Foundation was founded in 1983. They offer a gateway to education, information, and collaboration for space exploration and space-inspired industries that define the global space ecosystem. Their mission is to be the preeminent advocate and gateway for trusted information, lifelong education, and seamless collaboration for all the people and organizations engaging in space exploration and space-inspired industries that define the global space ecosystem. When I first started researching space and the space economy, When I first started researching space and the space economy, Space Foundation was a source of some very valuable information. Founded in 1983, Space Foundation became the preeminent advocate and gateway for trusted information, lifelong education, and seamless collaboration. That's a good 3 right there. For all people and organizations engaging in the space exploration and space-inspired industries that define the global space ecosystem. When I first started researching space and the space economy, Space Foundation was a primary source of some very valuable and authoritative information that I was able to use in my research. They are a powerhouse for the space industry, doing so much. I am excited to introduce to you a representative of the Space Foundation, Kim Hausbeck. Welcome to the podcast. Hi.
Hey, thanks, Izzy.
So we got to meet each other at the ISS R&D conference, and I tell you, who knew how many times we'd be talking since then? So
I know. I just happened to sit next to you, and suddenly we were off and running.
Yep, and it has been a relationship that I have valued. And anyway, let's talk about some Space Foundation. And your organization does a lot, like we were talking about, information, education, and collaboration. Can you tell us a little bit or a grand synopsis of what the Space Foundation does?
Well, we have grown, especially in the last 10 years. So let me just touch on each of those elements that you mentioned, starting with education. We have in Colorado Springs, Colorado, which is our home base headquarters, we have what we call the Discovery Center, and it is especially focused on K through 12 learning, and it functions as both a learning experience where we have workshops for kids, flying drones, learning about rovers, but also a bit of a museum too for the adults who might be accompanying the kids on a workshop or a tour. So we do have an education function We also have a program at Space Foundation that is fairly well known called Teacher Liaisons. And those teacher liaisons are literally all over the world. They are generally K through 12 teachers who receive packets or projects from Space Foundation to teach space-based education in the classroom. So as far as education goes, we have our Discovery Center, which we did just celebrate a 10-year annual birthday just in the last couple of weeks, and the Teacher Liaison Program, which connects teachers all around the world. In terms of, you mentioned collaboration, we have a variety of programs, but probably the one we're most well known for around the world again is called Space Symposium. And Space Symposium is an event that happens in April of every year in Colorado Springs, Colorado again. And it brings together people who are both, you have your governmental players, NASA, the Australian Space Agency, the Nigerian Space Agency, probably up to 40 different countries attended this past April. And then you also have your commercial sector players, so your Boeings, your SpaceX, your Blue Origins, from the very large to the very small. And then you also do have academics who come from University of Arizona, from Emory-Riddle. So it is a place where people from every part of the space industry can come and network, exchange ideas, and also create the vision for the future of space exploration, because it literally brings everyone together into one spot for a week to brainstorm and to exchange ideas and really create the next goal for space exploration. Just this past April, as in a couple of weeks ago, we had about 15,000 people at Space Symposium. We had
a few people.
Just a few. We take over 30 hotels in the Colorado Springs area. And we also had perhaps almost 300 exhibitors who are showing off some of the cutting edge space technology, literally cutting edge in terms of the global market. So that, in terms of collaboration, that's probably the thing that we are most well known for, is Space Symposium.
And from the other side, well, from the other side of it too, everybody is been having a difficulty with inflation and costs and all that, and so they had to really choose where to go. And from my perspective, everybody was choosing to go to the symposium. That was the one place they were going, and so it is the place to be for any conference that you need to do in space.
It is. The connections made there are critical, really, to the future of space exploration. I mean, every year you have Jeff Bezos he is on the ground somewhere in Colorado Springs. You don't get to see him because he is a bit of a celebrity, and he can't just kind of pop around town and get, ambushed by fans. But some of the top names have been to Space Symposium. Branson, Musk, Bezos.
And they probably are there. They just probably got mustaches and wigs on.
Yeah, right. Or they're wearing hats and they're incognito. So yeah. And it's a good time because it really is people who are excited about the future and excited about possibilities. So you're hanging out with 15,000 people who really are visionaries and have this passion for changing the world, changing the trajectory of the human species. So It really is kind of a cool place to be for a week. So
And I know that you have to work it. When you have to work it, it's a different experience. And congratulations on surviving it, by the way. But what was your favorite experience? What was your favorite thing that happened at this last show?
it was, without a doubt, our Wednesday program. So we have over 250 speakers that also come from around the world to present at workshops and speeches and that sort of thing. And Wednesday, this past Wednesday, we call them tracks, where you have like a day-long topic. So we have a Tuesday track with science, like the hard science, physics, life sciences, biology, chemistry. Wednesday was what's called game changers, where you're literally changing expectations about what we can do. And then Thursday we had a workforce track, because we in the space industry, we don't have enough people. We are always looking for people. There's always job openings for science, for non-science. But Wednesday was my favorite because it's game changers. And literally, they're talking about the technology. So all day, a whole day of talking about technology that's going to get us to the moon, that's going to get us to Mars, and that's going to get us out of the solar system that already exists. So we already have technology that can get us out of the solar system in terms of becoming an interplanetary species. And it was so fun because this is a reality now. It's just a function of, we have the tech, now we've got to put it together in a way that we can get out there safely without expiring.
Any anomalies.
But,
yeah. No anomalies allowed.
But there were so many references to what used to just be science fiction. The Star Trek references, or Lost in Space references. I mean, literally in the 1950s, the TV shows talking about being in space, and it seemed, if you were a kid in the 50s watching TV, maybe you yearned for that future, but maybe there was a part of you that didn't really believe it could happen. But now it's happening for real. I mean, the way that people talked about our interplanetary future on that Wednesday at Game Changers Track was as if it's already a fact. It's already, in a sense, done. We just have to go through certain motions. So you look at 1950s when it was just hope and adventure and some yearning, and now it's people talking about it like it happened yesterday almost. And that's only 70 years, right?
Right.
That's a short period in the human species to go from hope to been there, done that. And yes, there are still challenges ahead, but that attitude.
Yeah, if you go back 100 years ago, we were just starting to fly. I mean,
right.
So we were.
In aircraft.
In aircraft, yeah. I mean, we hadn't hit the commercial aircraft boom yet. So that was only 50 years ago, 40 years ago is the big boom. Well, even still, I mean, commercial aviation didn't start until, I think it really took off, pun intended, I think in the 1930s is when it really got to be the trendsetters, but before that it was basically military and carrying letters. So it hasn't been that long.
Less than 100
really
years.
Hasn't. Yeah.
So.
And here
But
we
yeah,
are.
Wednesday was my favorite because the stories that people were telling, and then almost like the jokes about, Star Trek said this in the 60s, and now look at what we're doing. so it was fun.
There's people that talk about being on the Star Trek set that, the doors would open and that they would come off the set and they would go into a grocery store and whatnot, and the doors would not open. They'd run right into them. So, and now we don't even think about it. it's just a natural part of our world. The doors opening when we approach them.
Right.
Yet that was science fiction not that long ago. So.
Right. Have you been to Space Symposium?
I have not.
Yourself?
I have it on my list for next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's your to-do list.
Yeah.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah. I had a bunch of conferences that I had slated for this year. And so next year, I won't be going to probably as many, but I will be going to that one.
Awesome sauce. Make sure you get your room reservations early. I'm not kidding.
Well,
we're already selling for next year. So people already have reservations in for their hotels for a year from now.
I will do. Hold on to your boosters. We will be right back with guest Kim Hausbeck from Space Foundation after a brief message from our sponsors. Please take this moment to like and subscribe to the Space Marketing Podcast so you don't miss a thing.
You'd mentioned education, collaboration, and you had a third that you had singled out for Space Foundation mission.
Information.
Reports,
yes.
Oh, yes, the space reports. Yes, we have quarterly space reports that are extremely high-level research in terms of, so it's not quite your everyday magazine-type articles. It's more encyclopedic in terms of the research and analysis that goes on. So yes, we do have the Space Reports, which is a quarterly publication and helps both commercial industry personnel, government personnel, and academics sort of keep up on what's going on in the space industry, both now and in the future.
And it's an authoritative source. I mean, it's not just you're looking it up on Wikipedia and getting that information. A lot of your news source use Space Foundation reports to talk about what's happening in space. Tell me what the Global Alliance is.
A Global Alliance is what brings international partners into play in terms of networking internationally. So we do have partnerships with like the Italian Space Agency.
Okay, now there's a couple of other things. There's the Certified Space Technology Program, which you and I have done other things on. We had a Space for Kentucky roundtable where we talked about transfer technology, the NASA transfer technology. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what the Certified Space Technology Program is?
Sure. The Certified Space Technology Program is the program I manage at Space Foundation, and it's really focused on our core mission at Space Foundation. The core mission at Space Foundation is advocating for innovation, bettering life on Earth. And you'll see that on every web page that we have at spacefoundation.org. But how that program specifically furthers that mission is that it helps entrepreneurs who are producing products that incorporate technology that has been used in space, but bringing it down to Earth so that literally we can use space technology every day. So let me give you an example. Tempur-Pedic is a very famous example, and one of our legacy program members. Tempur-Pedic took, and most people realize that's a mattress that is very comfortable, that's sold all over the world. But Tempur-Pedic took a foam that NASA developed for the space shuttles, for the seats in the space shuttles, to increase the comfort of astronauts as they blast off into space, and also increase their safety during that period of time when everything's shaking And Tempur-Pedic took that foam and was able to transform it into an everyday product. And so Certified Space Technology Program authenticated that Tempur-Pedic was using foam created by NASA, and we give authenticated companies, we give them a seal that says Certified Space Technology to help them market their products, both in terms of giving them a competitive edge because they can say their product comes from space technology, and drawing attention to the fact that so many products nowadays are connected to space. So much nowadays, people don't even realize if you're using GPS in your phone, that's space technology. If you're using water filters, modern day water filters, that's all NASA, because in space they had to constantly recycle the used water. And so the modern day water filters we have that help keep our water clean and safe come from NASA tech.
And you say used water. I was waiting for that.
Well,
they had to make very used water palatable or potable.
Including from urine. Yes.
Yes.
Recycling. I mean, when you're in space, there's no independent source of water.
Nope.
So they had to also recycle urine. So water filtration, the type of water filtration we use in the modern world goes back to NASA. So does a lot of air filtrations. And if you know, during COVID-19, there was lots of concern that the virus could be transmitted via air, which there was evidence it could be transmitted via air. But there are air filters that NASA created for the same reason. In space, there's no independent source of oxygen, so all of the air is recycled, and we need to make it healthy enough so that people aren't suffocating or picking up other airborne illnesses or particles. And there is a certified partner called ActivePeer. So they have our seal and their authenticated genuine space technology. During COVID, their air filters were able to destroy the COVID virus in the air in literally a matter of minutes. But it's because their product relied on NASA technology. So our program at Space Foundation helps recognize all the different ways in which space technology, and nowadays it's not just NASA technology. I mean, back in the in the 80s, NASA was kind of the only player, really, except for the Russians. But nowadays it's entirely different. We have other governments that have been on the moon, are out there, and you have commercial entities. So it's a way to recognize all of that type of technology that's used in space, but has been brought down to Earth by entrepreneurs to be used every day to make our life better here on Earth. Something as simple as a cordless vacuum cleaner or cordless electrical tools. That's all NASA again. It's almost shocking. Golf balls. If you're a golf fan and you play golf, your golf balls, the dimples on those golf balls nowadays, every single golf ball that's produced owes those dimples to NASA and its drag-reducing research. So something as simple as a golf ball is connected to space technology and is better because of it.
Yeah, and so many people don't realize just how much it permeates our daily lives. So, there's a disconnect right now, which is one of the reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, is to get the word out that space is important. It's important to us now. It's important to our future.
I think especially for sustainability initiatives, because the environment in space is so harsh. No oxygen, no water, radiation,
no pressure.
Is right. And addressing those challenges means developing technology that we can then bring back to Earth and improve life in terms of using less water, less pollution, All sorts of sustainability concepts can be furthered by space technology because even the harshest Earth environment, unless we're talking in the middle of a volcano, can't compare to the harshness of space. So
Right. Right. So, well, it's kind of like the chicken or the egg thing. My next little, I don't know if it's a question or just kind of a conversation, but marketing. What came first, the chicken or the egg? So, all of these things are things that I talk about in my book about how to market your brand. So, where does the brand begin and the marketing happen, and what's the actual product? I mean, because everything that you do promotes itself as a brand. Like the reports promote your authority, which in the event promote what you do, and then the certification goes on top of that. So we're it's like a chicken or the egg type of thing. It all is just extremely powerful in all of the aspects that you do in your education as well. Education marketing is one of the most valuable kinds because it leaves your audience better than what you found them. So, talk to us a little bit about the marketing and how you guys look at all of that.
in terms of marketing Space Foundation as a nonprofit organization,
well, yeah, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So what is actually the brand and what is the marketing part? Because it's all kinds of feeds each other. So
right, I think historically, if you look at how Space Foundation was formed, you mentioned it was formed in 1983, which is accurate, and it was formed by 4 Air Force personnel who had just retired here in Colorado Springs, where we have so many military bases. And they had a vision, those 4 gentlemen had a vision for promoting space. And initially, they really were only a couple of people as staff with a bunch of volunteers. And really the first thing that they did pretty early on was create Space Symposium. And so Space Symposium goes back almost to the beginning, to the late 80s. And so of all the programs that we have, it is sort of the granddaddy program, Space Symposium as an annual event. It is historically the longest running program. And in a certain sense, I think Space Foundation at one point really was just Space Symposium.
okay.
Maybe not quite literally, but almost. So Space Foundation was pretty much just Space Symposium. But that particular event, a lot of good people got involved with it, specifically like my boss, Elizabeth Wagner. She's been at the Space Foundation for over 20 years. And in her mind, so when she came on board 20 years ago, she kind of took that on as like her baby and just poured all of her love and attention into it. And it grew and it grew. And as it grew, that growth did allow Space Foundation to start expanding in terms of the services that we offer and in terms of the way in which we serve the mission to advocate for innovation and better life on Earth. So you have in the late 90s, Space Foundation had gotten big enough or noticed enough that it was actually NASA that came to Space Foundation and said, look, we have this program called Spin-Offs, in which we help entrepreneurs take our patented technology and turn it into everyday used products. But because we're NASA, we're the government, they can't use our NASA meatball logo, the famous NASA meatball logo, to market their goods because that's just not allowed in terms of government regulations. But we need a way for them to be able to explain to the public that they are using technology that is substantially different from technology not used in space. So NASA actually came to us in asked us if we couldn't create a program that would be helpful to these entrepreneurs and to educating the public about how much space technology is in our products. So some of these programs came about because we had started to develop our reputation with Space Symposium. A lot of contacts were made. And then NASA said, well, we have this really big problem. We want these entrepreneurs using NASA technology to be really successful, because that's part of their mission too, is to get that technology back to the American public, because the American public, with our taxes, supports NASA. But to be successful, they really needed help marketing. And NASA, that's the one thing NASA couldn't do, is help them market. So, certification began in the late 1990s, my program, late 1990s. And then the Discovery Center, which is that educational space where we have a museum and we have workshops for kids on a daily basis, that actually is newer. And I think, that's only 10 years old. It just had its 10th anniversary a couple of weeks ago. So that came on, I think, because we did start almost like organically, we grew right into it. It just somehow organically made sense. So I don't know if that helps answer your question, but...
Well, and you started off by saying that Space Foundation was created to promote space.
Right.
So
those four Air Force personnel.
Yes. So it's all about promoting space and all the things that you do, which are awesome things. Okay, now, so we've looked back. Let's look forward. So where do you see the space industry in 10 to 20 years? You said that you had the game changer track. So where do you see the next 10 to 20 years in space?
Definitely on the moon and on Mars, unless there's some sort of catastrophe, either natural or man-made.
Which are not allowed.
Right. Let's just say that's no permission granted for those. But if things continue in the same vein as they have, definitely on the moon and on Mars, and then almost, I don't know, it starts to get harder to foretell, because will the moon and Mars be similar to civilization that we experienced here on Earth, either in the distant past or the present, or will it actually go in a direction that we can't foresee? I mean, are we going to have Amazon on Mars, with shopping? I don't know. Or will it be more like perhaps ancient Greece or something where it's a different experience? I think also the impulse to go out, we already have our robots, so to speak, out there in interstellar space. So I think the impulse to continue, I think that is the thing about humans, which frankly Star Trek really captured really well, is that impulse to explore and to push and to see what's around the next corner, just that curiosity. What is around the next corner? Well, I think that's going to take us right out into interstellar space. And I'm sure there are going to be enormous challenges. We may meet a foe or a friend out there that then we have to deal with. And if it's a foe, how do we deal with a conflict of a species that may not be friendly to us if they're intelligent and they've already been out in space for a while, so they might have an advantage on us? Or maybe we will find more friendly alternative life forms out there. It's a little hard to predict in terms of certainty, but it's, I think, wondering, at what moment will we meet another alien? Will we meet a true alien life form? And how will it go? Will it be the friendly, sort of Vulcan type of... Right.
Yeah, I mean, even if they're friendly, we have a tendency to do that, don't we? Oh, don't know what you are.
Upon occasion. But in terms of trying to determine what, you've probably seen or heard of The Expanse. It was a TV show. I saw it on Amazon. And so they talk about civilization on Mars, which is actually in conflict with a civilization on Earth, which is in conflict with a civilization on asteroids. And actually, I thought that was a pretty good description of some potential futures that we might have. So I think it's happening. I just don't know all the details. But you said you just came from the Humans to Mars conference. So I need to know, what do you think? Where are you on this question?
I I also work with the Overview Effect Roundtable, the Overview Roundtable, and there's a lot of people that really want whatever we do next to be done more along the veins of Star Trek versus Star Wars, and that's a direct quote that I heard at the the conference. But there's a lot of good minds trying to make it to where our human nature doesn't make it into something else. So I hope they win. And space is full of people that really want to see a better way. And, from the Artemis Accords to, the people that in NASA, that's one of the things that attracts me to space, is that it is full of good people that really want good things for us as a species. So whether or not, we can handle that, that's going to, hopefully we're putting some good things into place to help mitigate some of that and to minimalize it. But human nature is human nature, so I just hope we don't just cut our nose off to spite our face.
Well, question for you. I'm going to turn the tables. If you had the chance to go to Mars, would you?
But even if I knew it was a one-way trip.
Yes. Even if. And it may not even.
Fear is a thing that keeps you from doing some incredible things in your life. It's the little voice that tells you not to take that step, to sit quietly where you are, and, give you all kinds of reasons not to try. So I have really tried hard not to listen to that. And that's why I'm sitting here on a podcast right here, is I didn't listen to my brain. Anyway, so I would like to hope that if I had the opportunity, that I would take it, even if it meant that I would not see this planet again. But I got to tell you, I love Earth so much. I think it's a beautiful place, and that is, it drives me to do a lot of what I do, is just, doing something for the betterment of where we're at. I think space is important to be able to heal the planet. And we got to be able to see it, see the damage that we're doing. We've got to be able to have technology, develop the technology to help clean it up. And all that comes from space. So, and the people in space really, for the majority, more so than any other industry, I think really want that to happen. So, I'm putting my effort behind hope.
Okay. Good answer.
So would you go?
In a heartbeat. If there's anyone out there who has the ability to put people on a list to go to Mars, please put my name on it.
There you go.
Yeah. I am very much driven by that motivation of seeing what's around the next corner. I can't take not knowing what's around I can't. I have to go around the corner. I can't take not knowing. So yeah.
No moss between these toes.
Right. Right.
So the last question is, what thoughts?
I guess primarily that they are surrounded, literally. If you are in the U.S. viewing this, and even if you're not in the U.S., it could still be fairly true. But if you're in the United States, you are surrounded constantly by space technology, even if you're not aware of it. I mean, just pick up your phone, and it's like space tech. So, I mean, literally, right. But there's so many different you can hardly spend an hour without space tech if you're living in the United States of America. So really start to think about your connection to it. So it's not just the fact, but the connection to space, the connection to exploration, and the connection to that human compulsion to explore and see what's around the next corner, and then to try and figure out how to deal with what's around the next corner. So in a sense, you are a part of history just by picking up a phone. You're look how close it is to me. It's like right there. So
Even if you're off the grid, okay, let's just say you're off the grid. Well, you probably have solar power, which
yep.
is from space. So
Right. Right. Anything connected to sustainability and improving the use of environmental resources has got a strong space component to it. You can hardly avoid it in sustainability or environmental, in the environmental field. So even now, Tide. Tide is working with NASA. Right now, they've got an experiment on the ISS, a new type of laundry detergent. Because right now, our astronauts are close enough to Earth. They don't actually do laundry right now on the ISS. What they do is rockets send up clean clothes every couple of months, and all the dirty, nasty, smelly, stinky clothes, which have been lying around for months, are shot essentially into our atmosphere and burn up. So that's how they do laundry right now. Is they have
That's
to
not
put clothes in a rocket and send it up. Right, and obviously the clothes aren't alone in that rocket. There'll be experiments in there and other things like food and things like that. So, but it's not a good way to do laundry, and you can't do that. It works for right now because they're close enough to the Earth to manage that. But once they get to Mars, once they get to the moon is too far away to do laundry in that manner. So they actually need to figure out a way to do laundry, because cleanliness does affect health in a variety of ways, especially if someone is cut or injured. And so they have a new type of detergent they're working with, formulating, so that the minimum amount of water can be used, and the detergent is biodegradable in the sense it can be recycled and then drank without harming human health. So even something as simple as laundry detergent is now going to have a connection to space technology.
Well, and that particular thing, what's it going to do for our use of laundry detergents down here?
Of course. It can be saving water, saving electricity, saving energy,
Saving
so
poisons.
many. Yes, because they're non-toxic detergents now. You know how our current detergents do have. You don't want to eat our current detergents; they would poison you. But this will be recycled so that it has to be safe for human consumption. So it can solve problems even in places that, like the desert, where there isn't much water. There'll be opportunities now to do laundry in a different way without wasting resources or overusing them. So,
Or contributing to the runoff contamination. It's
yes.
non-toxic.
Okay. So yes. Yes.
So just something so small has such big ramifications here on
Right.
planet. So
Right.
go space. Go Tide.
Yes. Go space.
Any contact? Yep, we do. And any contact information? Anything you want to leave as far as how to contact anybody to work with Space Foundations?
Well, we have our main webpage, spacefoundation.org, and from there, all the different programs are listed in terms of how to connect to different programs. If you are interested in the Certified Space Technology Program, you can do spacefoundation.org / what we do / space certification. Or you can just email me. It might be easier at khausbeck@spacefoundation.org. So that's KHAUS as in Sam, B as in boy, ECK @spacefoundation.org. And if you're specifically interested in certification, or if you are interested in some other program and you want to talk to me about who would be best to approach at Space Foundation, because we do have several programs, and we have, at this point, we have a DC office, we have a bunch of people in Texas, so maybe there's someone else you need to talk to, but you don't know who, just email me and I'll hook you up.
And you are you are very active on LinkedIn as well. So we'll have
Yes.
all that information
Yes.
in the show notes. Well, I sincerely, once again, appreciate your time and your information, and it has been great to chat.
This has been fun.
A special thanks to Kim Hausbeck from Space Foundation for sharing her journey to space. Be sure to check out her link listed in today's show notes. Please like and subscribe to the Space Marketing Podcast to help get the word out about how awesome space is. I hope that you have found this podcast useful for your journey as you reach for the stars.